What is up, my guys? It is your guy. It's your dude. It's your man. Uh, I don't even remember my YouTube, but name Dark Life. Yeah, dude. But we have ourselves a special video today because we have ourselves a new champion on the League of Lego, and on the PB we have Pyke, the Blood Harbor Ripper, and he's a support assassin. Very unique. Oh, let me disable toggle. Just toggle that. Just go away. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Hello? Uh, uh, I may have spawned a little too many minions. Can the... Okay. Nope, we're just... We're resetting the game. Alright. No minions. Nope. Nope. Mother... Thank you. Holy shit, that was stupid. Okay. Sorry about that. That was, slightly troll. Okay. So... Pyke. So let me just give the rundown of his abilities. It's passive. Gift of the Drowned Ones. It's... To compare it to anything... It's like, Tom Kench thick skin, but anyway, Pyke cannot be seen by enemies. He will rapidly regenerate 30% of the damage he has recently taken from champions up to 165. Now this scales with level, I believe, because the next part of this passive, Pyke converts all of his bonus health from any source into attack damage instead. So, he can actually get HP from items. They are purely base HP from his levels. That's where he's getting his HP from. For example, I'm gonna buy a Ruby Crystal, 150 health. Notice how my HP doesn't go up at all, but instead I got some attack damage. Now I'm not sure what the ratio is exactly, but this gave me 10 AD and this is 150 HP. So I'm not entirely sure what the ratio is. It 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 multiplied it by 15, but I don't think that's how that works. I don't know. I don't think that's how that. I don't think it's multiplying it by 15 with your 150 HP and you're getting 10 AD from it. I don't think that's how that's gonna work. Um, but yeah, so you can't actually build HP on this guy. So that kind of leads into some interesting build paths. It makes it so he can actually take Relic Shield in lane without like feeling really bad, because like Spell Thieves sounds awful. I don't even think this guy has any AP ratios now. And then Coin, I guess for the golden mana, that's something. But yeah, so the HP allows himself to yeah, and he gained like 3 AD here. So I'm not sure exactly what the ratio is, but but yeah, so any HP converts into attack damage. Okay, alright, and this dude he's pretty edgy. He's called the Blood Harbor Ripper. He's a little edgy, but he looks pretty cool, so it works out. But let's go into the abilities. Let's level up and let's get our abilities. So first thing is his Q. So his Q is called Bone Skewer. Choose a harpoon attack, a ranged throw that pulls an enemy, or a quick high damage melee strike. Targets hit either, targets hit by either are slowed or not by 90% for 1 second. Now, this ability is going to be his main. It's his only range ability, really, aside from his ultimate, I guess. But This is where I think everything's going to be set up from this character. If you can land, and maybe his E, but if you can land this is where a lot of your playmaking's coming in. It charges up pretty fast, actually. For such a strong ability, it charges up pretty fast to the long range. I'm gonna auto refresh all of my stuff, and then you can just tap it for quick damage and slow. And the big thing is it deals more damage if you tap it, but the slow is the same, and it's a 90% slow for a second. It's a pretty strong slow for lasting an entire second. I know that sounds like, oh, it's just an entire second, but in League of Legends, you know, a second and a half, it's a pretty long time. So I think that's pretty strong, and it also allows you to kind of work around a little bit with your E since they're slowed after you land this. Key thing to note with this is that the pull portion of this is a fixed distance. So it's all based on the location of Pyke when he is throwing it. So if you're throwing it all the way from the end, it's going to pull him based on, you know, how far it actually has to travel. Now, the cool thing with this ability is if you're right on top of someone, you will yank them right over you completely. So again, it's a fixed distance. It's not like Thresh pull where it pulls it toward you. It's not like Blitzcrank pull where it pulls it toward you. It's not like Nautilus where he pulls it toward you and you meet halfway. It is always going to be a fixed distance depending on you know, where you are relative to your target. So we'll always put them basically in the same spot. It's kind of confusing, but the reason I bring that up is this is important for your combo. So the big combo with this character that I'm finding, just kind of playing around, is the Q into the E. So your other abilities, here. Your W makes you go stealth mode. It basically, think of Twitch Q or Evelyn passive. As soon as you go camouflage, you cannot be seen outside of this radius here. But if you get in, they can see you. Pink wards will also be able to see you. So it's a camouflage ability. So this to me is like, you know, gonna be big for roaming, and it gives movement speed. That's the thing. Another thing to note is that if you use any ability while in the spectral waters, or sorry, the ghost water dive as it's called, you will get out of camouflage, much like Twitch and Evelyn. So keep that in mind. But you can flash still. But any sort of, you know, of your main abilities, any even ignite, you know, you just can't. It will break this the camouflage. So that's an important thing to note. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward ability. Good roaming, and it also works and synergizes with his passive. Alright, next ability, Phantom Undertow. Now this ability is pretty cool. It's a dash that has a second part that has a stun with it. So Pyke dashes, leaving a drowned Phantom behind him. After a short delay, the Phantom returns to Pyke, dealing damage and then stunning. So, for example, boom. So it's about a second or so, maybe a little under a second delay with the Phantom there. But the key thing here is that you can do some cool stuff like flash. And it will reposition because it will always come toward Pyke. So you see how I can kind of like curve the Phantom. Yeah. So you kind of curve there. Yep. And then you can hit him like that. So there's some cool playmaking things you can do with it. On top of the fact that it's a mobility it's some more mobility for this guy, so you can go over walls with it. Um, so you can use it to escape. You can use it to gap close. You can use it to lock someone down, and it can hit multiple targets in as long as they are hit by the Phantom. It can hit, so it can hit more than one. So you could theoretically get a 5-man Phantom Undertow stun. Now, the chances of that happening is very low, considering you can't you can't. It's assuming they're all in a line, and you know you have to get quite a bit of distance. But I mean, theoretically, you could hit multiple people with this. And it deals a decent amount of damage. When you get more levels in this, you get increased stun duration and damage. It goes up pretty heftily there. I would assume you would still probably want to max Q, but E doesn't look too bad, and it looks like the mana stays the same throughout all. So that's actually kind of interesting. So he has pretty low mana costs. Well, and at least, wow, his E actually 50 mana. Oh wow. Yeah, I can see people maxing that actually. The cooldown doesn't go down, so maybe that will dissuade and you want the Q. But I don't know. The damage goes up, the stun duration goes up, and it's still 50 mana. I have a feeling that'll get changed. I don't know if that'll stick around. 50 mana for that? Wow. But the cooldown doesn't go down. So CDR is probably going to be a pretty decent stat to get on. But anyway, that's kind of like theory crafting anyway. But yeah, so cool little stun, dash, whatever you want to call it. Some cool mechanics you can do with that. And now the ultimate ability is the last thing I wanted to show as far as his main abilities go. It's not that effective against the dummy, so I'm going to toggle minions, and then I'm going to fast forward 30 seconds. So there should be a Nidalee coming in the lane. Now, the thing about this, so this is kind of interesting. Pyke strikes all enemy champions in an X, blinking and executing targets below a certain amount of flat. This is flat damage execute, not percent damage or percent health. This is a flat health execute, and by execute I mean it like straight up ergot execute, like you're dead. It's not like Evelyn where it deals like bonus damage when you're at a certain like it will just completely kill you. And this scales obviously with level, and then it also scales with AD. This thing, I was kind of playing around with it earlier. This thing can get up to like a 1k execute range, and now against the tank, against the tank, I mean, if they're below 1,000 health, they're probably close to being dead anyway, because they have, tank will have like 3k or they'll have 4k, and so it's not that crazy. It's still pretty good. If they're below, I mean, you can still execute a tank just fine. It's since it is flat HP. But to me, for the ADCs, the mid laners, the squishier, the other supports, just imagine a Janna that's probably not, it's gonna like barely be under like 2k health. You get her chunked out from a combo, and then you just ult her, and then she's done. Well, she's done. And because the ability is a blink, you can just get right on top of them. So I'm just gonna kind of attack her here. I'm not really gonna do anything crazy. I just want to get her in the execute range, and it will give you like the complete it like changes and everything. It's pretty crazy, and then you just boom, and that's it. I mean, just completely executes them once they reach a certain HP threshold. Now, another thing that note with this, because this guy, so far you're like, alright, he has a lot of damage, he has some cool CC stealth mechanics, he looks like a nice run. How is this guy support? How is he support? Well, here is where the big support aspect comes with him. The second part of his ult, or the other aspect of it. When an enemy champion dies in the X from any source, an assisting ally also gains full kill gold, and Pyke may recast death from below again within 20 seconds. So this is basically Darius ultimate if it were an AoE execute, because Darius ult technically is a finisher. It's not an execute. Um, but it gets a reset like that, and it's AoE, and it gives kill gold and credit to I think it's the last assisting ally. So it's only one ally. So it's not like if you all five got somebody and then you ulted him, it deals that. I think it's only the last ally to assist. So it's it's not that crazy, but it's still like in lane I can just see this being this can be huge in lane because your ADC who say like a Jinx who's lacking the damage in lane phase. Okay, well Pyke, since he's level 6, he's got some good damage. He's probably got upgraded relic shield. He's getting a decent amount of AD. He does a combo, has electrocute or whatever, and then chunks him down and then execute range, and then you just ult him, and then boom, Jinx gets a kill. Yeah, for not even she doesn't even need the damage. She just gets the kill because Pyke. And I think that's going to be interesting to see where what people will do with this champ, like what champions and ADCs they'll run with him. See, I think that's very interesting, and I think that is where the support aspect of him comes in. The fact that he can just boom, he can just give somebody a kill basically. One thing to note with the ultimate is that you can use it whenever, but it will not. It only blinks if it hits an enemy champion. So that's something to note. It will only blink if you hit an enemy champion with it. So yeah, that is Pyke. That's his basic abilities, and yeah, interesting champ. I've yet to play him in an actual game yet, but I wanted to do some combos with him, kind of like get a feel of him, get a good idea with him. I'm gonna get rid of this scuttle here because he's just gonna get in the way. Sorry, Mr. Scuttle. Feels bad, man. Okay. So here is what I was able to find out. So you have your from a range hook, and it pulls them toward you, and it's a pretty long range. Like that is, if not thresh hook range, like pretty close. Like that is a pretty long. It's a pretty long range. It hits the first enemy hit, so it can't go through minions. So, minions will stop it just the same. You can't do the thresh thing where you like aim one way and, or can you? Okay, maybe you can. That might actually throw someone off, maybe. But you can kind of see it coming. If it's from a bush, obviously not. But you can see that he's charging it up. So that's something to keep in mind. And then you can tap it again, just get a quick slow and some bonus damage. But yeah, so from the range here, you can do the bone skewer into the phantom undertow, and then you can actually buffer the E as your Q is going out. So whereas as soon as your Q as soon as your Q has finished pulling the target, you can immediately phantom undertow. And yeah, and this is where the 90% slow comes in, because unless there's a more effective way of doing this, which there might be. This champion just came out on PB today. There is a little bit of a time window where the enemy champion can move around. Obviously, since it's a dummy isn't going to move around. But there is a bit of a time window where the champion can flash away. the champion can maybe dodge around. Now this is where you're going to come in because it will move toward your locations. This is where your movement comes into play, and you can use flash to do all that fun stuff with your E. So that's, you know, that's going to have to come into play. There's some outplay with that, but you basically swap places with them, put them behind you, and then you can stun them. Ooh. And then you can stun them, like, you know, front line, get someone in front of your team, you know, just pull them in, stun them, and lock them down for your team to come in and take care of. So that's one combo. Again, your camouflage, there's really no way. You can use ultimate if you hit somebody with it, but it does break the stealth first. But with the W, you're probably gonna see E engages with W. If you're using it offensively like that, it'll probably, because there's really no way you're gonna be able to use your Q because it breaks stealth. So yeah, so that's one of the QE combos there. Another one that I think is a little more maybe interesting, and probably something that people won't catch on to when the champion first is released. But it's that one. Now this, it's the Q point blank. So earlier I said how it's a fixed distance. So if you're point blank on someone, it will pull you. It will basically pull it. It will put the champion like over your shoulder. So think of it as like Urgot E. You yank them. If you have point blank, you yank them over your shoulder basically. And this, to me, I think is a little faster, and I think would be a little easier to pull off than this. Just because, you know, you're like right on top of someone, and this is where kind of you can use your flash to kind of gap close with your Q, because you can use flash with the Q. So I'm gonna try to do it. It didn't go the way I wanted to. Yeah. So you can kind of see what I'm trying to do here. So you pull them that way, and then you dash the way that you're gonna be pulling them. Yeah. Dash the way you're gonna be pulling them. And, you know, people probably won't expect it. I think this is a little faster. Obviously, you need to use your flash for it, but I think it's a little faster than this way. Maybe just slightly, and I think it looks cooler. And I think that if you can really get this combo down, it really shows. You know, this is where a lot of the mechanics of the champion I think will come in. But I do believe this is faster here. You know, Q flash and then E backwards. Point blank, obviously. So yeah, that's kind of the combos that I'm finding so far. So you have the range, and then forward, pulling them into your in front of you, and then dashing behind them to stun them. And then, you know, by then your ADC or whoever in lane, you'll probably be roaming a lot in their jungle. You'll probably be, you know, roaming with your jungler invading, which I think he'll do greatly because he has the mobility, and then he has, you know, camouflage, which is such a powerful thing for invading. They're gonna have to get pinks basically to deal with you, because, you know, if you can just go in the enemy jungle with your jungler and then invade them, or, you know, get some cheeky roams off on the mid lane or top lane, they're gonna have to get control wards. So yeah, no, this one's good. You'll probably have whoever with you for that one, for the big range. You can buffer the E after you land the Q. And then there's the point blank Q. point blank Q, and then you can immediately E afterwards. And there's the flash point blank Q, which they may not, they may not be expecting. Yeah, like I said, I think this is slightly faster, and getting that stun off, that's the biggest thing I'm gonna see, because it does take a little bit for the Phantom to actually start moving. So that's where this, like I mentioned before, the 90% slow, which is like basically a root at that point, is really gonna keep them in place, and that should be enough. That slow should last long enough to allow your Phantom to come through. But they can still flash away, they can still dash away. Like Ezreal can still use his shift and everything. So it's not completely unavoidable, but also a good Pyke may be able to read. May be able to read a read an Ezreal. Ooh, that's kind of fun. You can kind of throw the Q out and make it look longer. That's kind of cool. Maybe there's something you can do with that. I don't know if that really changes anything. So yeah. That's kind of cool. It makes it look like it's longer. But again, since it goes the fixed distance, you can't yank them all the way back. Although that would be kind of fun. I think that would be a little nuts if it like pulled it all the way back, and, like all of a sudden you're under tower. I think that would be a little crazy, but cool nonetheless. I still think that's kind of a cool thing you can do. Not very useful, I don't think, but hey, maybe there's something, some pro players like, oh, there's some crazy mechanic you can do with that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have as far as just combos, ideas. How he'll be used in lane. That's the thing. I don't know exactly how the matchups are gonna go. I would imagine that he would have a harder time against the range champions. In terms of pure laning phase, but his passive I think helps out with that a lot. So maybe it's not as bad as you think. And because of the health converting into AD, this can lead to um, just completely blank here. Sorry. This can lead to going resolve in your runes because of the HP, and the resolve tree will give you bonus HP. So you can probably go HP, or you can probably go resolve secondary with maybe even aftershock. I don't know if you wanted to go maybe something tankier. Aftershock would give you that because he does have CC. It's something to experiment with. But yeah, you can go resolve tree. There's some things in there. I think you can go like second wind. You can go bone plating to help out with the ranged harass on top of your passive, which will just help out tremendously. So I think there's some answers there. I think he wouldn't be too bad against the range. I think that something that with this character is that because he can't actually build HP, he's going to be squishier. Although he does have good HP per level, it looks like. Practice tool ended, sadly. But yeah, he does get decent HP per level. So, maybe he just will be naturally tanky. Some item ideas, kind of want to test out. Frozen Mallet, Stair Axe, Titanic, and Warmugs. Those are like the big ones that I kind of want to see how that interacts. How good is that? It's a lot of HP, which converts into damage, but is it from a stats perspective, is it really that worth it to just rather just go for the assassin items like the Duskblade, the Yomus, the actual assassin items? It would probably be better, but you could probably weave in a Tiamat, or you could probably weave in a Stair Axe, which would give him a little more defensive capabilities. Maybe even a Warmugs if you want some HP regen, because even though you wouldn't be able to proc the Warmock's Heart, you would still get a lot of HP regen. It still has base HP regen, gives a lot of HP, so more damage, and it gives CDR. So I don't think it would be too bad. It'll probably be more a situational thing. Because again, the big thing with the Warmogs is if you can use the Warmog's Heart, like that's kind of like the whole thing with the item, using that passive portion of it. But yeah, so that'll be interesting to see the items with him. The runes, I'm not entirely sure with the runes. I have a couple of ideas. I think Electrocute's probably what's going to be played, but I can see Predator being used. I can see Electrocute being used. I don't really see anything in the sorcery tree aside from maybe Phase Rush. I don't know how useful that would be because he is combo based, so he should be able to proc it, but I don't know how useful that would really be practically. Airy, I don't really see him using Airy. I don't see him using Comet. In the Resolve tree, you know, the only thing that I see him using like well would be Aftershock because he does actually have good CC, and then it would also allow him to get stats. So like because he can't get HP, he's kind of squishy. But Aftershock, since you can hook someone, or the big thing the stun, procs Aftershock, and Aftershock gives a ton of flat MR and armor. I mean, this guy will be like super tanky for like 2.5 seconds, and then he can just dive your backline while he has Aftershock on him. I think that could be legitimate. Grasp of the Undying, I don't really see him using practically in lane, and at least that support. Maybe in the top lane because he may get moved up there. The only other role I see him really being used in would be top. I don't think jungle. People were saying he'd be a jungler. I don't think he has the cooldowns for being a jungler. His Q is a pretty long cooldown. It does good damage and it has AoE if you just use the tap portion of it, but it's a very long cooldown, so I don't see him using it to clear. And his passive doesn't work against monsters, so he wouldn't even be able to regen any of the health back from the camp. So I think he would get beat up. His stun is AoE, which is nice, but again, it's also a cooldown thing. It doesn't look like any of his abilities go on cooldown, or when he ranks them up, it doesn't look like, as of now at least, that the cooldowns go down. So most of it is probably just going to be coming from CDR. Which you can get some from runes. You can probably go inspiration in some cases, maybe even spellbook. Maybe there's a room for glacial augment in there if you wanted to get some active items, because I think actives would probably be not too bad on him. Maybe a Randuin's wouldn't be awful. Get a little bit of AD and then some armor, crit reduction, and then an active item, and then have glacial augment, and you can really lock people down. Maybe set up another Phantom Undertow, get them locked down. There's a lot of cool things that I think you can go with him, but I think he will be primarily offensive. I know people are going to want to try to find a way to use him in a fighter, bruiser, tanky way, because that just seems to be what we want to do. We want to try to turn someone into a tank as soon as possible. So he could be like a pseudo tank, maybe a pseudo like tank sponge kind of thing, for a couple seconds, maybe with Aftershock. But aside from that, I don't really think he would do anything in precision. I don't think he utilizes any of those well, or he would utilize any of those keystones well in the precision tree, because he's definitely burst. So I think destruction, and then is going to be his primary one, and then he'll probably go resolve second, or sorcery. With water walking celerity, I think that would be really good for his roams, and then resolve depending on the lane. If you're against like a Brand, or you're against a Janna or something like that, someone that's going to poke you, Karma, you probably want to go resolve, get bone plating second wind, and regen from your passive in second wind. So a couple of cool things with him. I think this champ looks really awesome. Different type of support. I am a support main, and this is a different type of support. I think it's cool that they're going this route with this kind of character, but I don't know when he. My only thing is, like, in theory he is cool, but I don't know when you would want someone like him in lane. Practically, Even competitively, I don't see why you would want him. I just don't. I feel like, if you wanted a kill lane, you could still have a kill lane, but they like with the thresh, you can still have a kill lane with a thresh, right? But he can also still provide utility with his lantern, and he still has a hook. He can still flay you. He still has a lot of utility in his kit. Where I feel like Pyke is definitely a lot more like early to mid game, like laning phase, mid game, like roaming, and later on he'll be like an extra assassin. He could probably decently assassinate, but I feel like you're gonna be losing a lot of utility from your support role. So I don't know where the balance will come in with him being used over others. But regardless, I still think it's a cool idea that they're going with here. So yeah, that's Pyke. I'll try to get a gameplay a video of him, my kind of thoughts on him in an actual game here. It's not really gonna be possible at the moment to get a game on him because he's gonna be first picked. 100%, he's gonna be first picked. That's just how it is here. I'd be really surprised if I got my hands on him. Or banned if draft is available. They usually just yeah. Oh, so yeah, draft is available, so he'll probably just be banned. So it'll be kind of hard to get a hold of him, um, but yeah, that is Pyke. Some cool things with him, and I look forward to seeing where this goes with this character. I think he'll be really cool. Definitely an interesting concept, and um, yeah, we'll see where this goes. So if you guys give me your thoughts on Pyke and what you think his value would be in a practical sense or in a certain team comp or something like that. Because I'm kind of curious. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, those are my thoughts. Those are my quick takes on him, on the new champion, and yeah, that's all. So thank you guys for watching and listening, and I'll see you in the next one.